The concept of resetting the game board is a fundamental aspect of any tic-tac-toe game, as it allows the game to be played multiple times without requiring the user to refresh or restart the application. The ability to reset the game board ensures that the game remains engaging and functional by giving the players an opportunity to start fresh after each game. It also maintains the game flow by allowing players to immediately play again after a victory, a tie, or even a game that ended due to some unexpected event, such as a system crash or error. In a Flutter-based tic-tac-toe game, implementing a smooth and efficient game reset mechanism is essential for providing a seamless user experience. To understand the process of resetting the game board, it's important to first look at the underlying structure of the game. Typically, the game board is represented by a list or array, where each element corresponds to a cell in the 3x3 grid of the tic-tac-toe board. The values of these elements are initially empty, but as players make their moves, they are filled with either an X or an O to represent the player's move. Once a player has won or the game has ended in a tie, the game board should be reset to its initial state, clearing out all the moves and allowing for a fresh round of gameplay. In Flutter, the game state can be managed effectively using stateful widget and the setState method. A stateful widget allows the game's UI to respond to changes in its state, which includes updating the game board and displaying the new state whenever a player makes a move or the game ends. When implementing the reset functionality, one would typically define a method to reset the game board state. This method would clear the game board array, reset any other related variables, such as the current player, the game status, and the score, and then call setState to trigger a rebuild of the UI, thus reflecting the game's reset. The actual process of resetting the game board involves setting all of the elements of the game board array back to their initial empty state. Since the game board array typically has 9 positions, one for each cell in the 3x3 grid, this can be achieved by simply assigning each element of the array back to an empty value, such as null or an empty string. Once this is done, any UI elements that display the state of the game board, such as buttons or icons representing the cells, must also be updated to reflect the new empty state. In addition to resetting the game board itself, it is important to manage other variables associated with the game, such as the current player, the winner, or whether the game has ended. If the game involves alternating between two players, such as player X and player O, the reset function should also ensure that the player turn is reset to the initial player, example player X. Moreover, if the game keeps track of a score, that score might need to be reset as well to reflect the beginning of a new game. The status of the game, whether it's ongoing, won, or tied, should also be reset, so that the game can correctly handle subsequent moves and determine the result of the next game. When implementing the reset game logic, developers must also consider what happens after the game ends. In many cases, after a player wins, a tie occurs, or a player chooses to manually reset the game, the interface may display a message congratulating the winner or notifying the players of the tie. After the message is displayed, the reset functionality should be easily accessible to allow the players to continue. A button or prompt, such as a play again or reset game button, can be provided, which, when clicked, will trigger the reset of the game board. It's crucial that this button is placed in an intuitive location within the UI, making it easy for players to know where to click next. Another important aspect of the reset functionality is ensuring that the reset process is quick and efficient, with minimal delays. If there is any noticeable lag or delay when resetting the game board, it can cause frustration and hinder the flow of the game. In some cases, players may become disoriented or impatient if the reset function takes too long to execute, which could negatively impact the overall user experience. To prevent such issues, the reset function should be lightweight and not require excessive processing power. By ensuring that the reset function executes quickly, the game remains fluid, and players can seamlessly transition from one round to the next. From a design perspective, it's important that the reset process be accompanied by visual feedback to indicate that the game has indeed been reset. For example, the reset button could change its label to New Game or display a loading animation as the game prepares to restart, These visual cues help ensure that players are aware of the reset process and prevent any confusion about the game's current state. Furthermore, if the game includes animations or visual effects, such as showing a celebratory animation when a player wins, those should be cleared or reset as well, so they do not persist after the game has ended. The reset function should ensure that everything is returned to its default state, including any animations or UI elements that were triggered during gameplay. To add an extra layer of polish to the reset functionality, you can also include a confirmation step before the game is reset, particularly if the user has not explicitly chosen to reset the game. For instance, if a player clicks the reset button after a game has ended, it may be beneficial to display a confirmation dialog that asks, "Are you sure you want to reset the game?" This can prevent accidental resets, ensuring that players have control over the action. However, this confirmation step should not be too intrusive and should not interrupt the natural flow of the game, so it's important to design it in a way that feels intuitive and quick. An important consideration when implementing the reset gameboard logic is ensuring that the game state persists appropriately across different sessions, particularly in cases where players may leave the game and return later. If the reset logic does not properly clear the game state, players may return to a game that appears to be stuck, leading to confusion. To address this, the game should implement a reliable mechanism for clearing all game-related data, both in memory and in any persistent storage, such as shared preferences or local storage, to avoid any conflicts or inconsistencies. The reset logic also extends to handling edge cases where the game might crash, freeze, or become unresponsive. In such cases, a robust reset mechanism is essential to allow the player to easily recover from these issues. This might involve implementing automatic resets in certain situations, such as when the game crashes, or providing an easily accessible button to restart the game manually. Regardless of the situation, the reset process should always be reliable, ensuring that players can resume or restart their game with minimal disruption. Lastly, testing the reset functionality is crucial to ensuring a smooth user experience. Developers should test the reset logic across a variety of scenarios, such as when the game is won, tied, or manually reset, to make sure that the game board is correctly cleared and the game can be played again. Additionally, edge cases, such as rapid clicking of the reset button or returning to the game after a crash, should be tested to ensure that the reset process remains stable and consistent under various conditions. Once the player has won in a tic-tac-toe game, it's not enough to simply display a basic message. The winning message should be an experience in itself, capturing the emotion of the victory while integrating seamlessly with the rest of the game. In this paragraph, we'll delve deeper into how to design and implement a winning message that feels impactful, ensuring that it aligns with the game's overall flow and user expectations. The psychological impact of a winning message. A well-designed winning message in a game can significantly affect the player's emotional experience. When a player wins, they often feel a sense of accomplishment and pride. The message displayed should reflect this emotion and amplify it. For example, the tone of the message should be positive, celebratory, and engaging.